Welcome back to True Crime Documentary YouTube channel. What would you, if everything you knew about the person you love turned out to be a lie? Could you handle the truth, even if it had the power to destroy everything you believed about your life and your marriage? This haunting question became a harsh reality for Daniel Carter, a newlywed husband from Atlanta, Georgia. Daniel uncovered a secret so dark and devastating about his wife, Camille Brooks, that it shattered the foundation of their marriage and led to one of the most gruesome crimes the city had ever seen. This is not just a tale of hidden truths or broken promises, it's a chilling reminder of how deep secrets can fester, unraveling lives and pushing people to the edge. From the outside, Daniel and Camille seemed like the ideal couple. Their love story was like something out of a romance movie, the kind of relationship their friends envied and their families praised. Daniel, a 32-year-old construction foreman, was respected and known throughout his community as a hard-working, dependable man. Raised in a conservative, religious household, Daniel believed in the values of family, honesty, and loyalty. He was the kind of man who prided himself on doing the right thing, a protector and a provider for those he cared about. Daniel's friends often said he was a man with strong principles, a man of few words, but someone you could rely on when times were tough. Standing at over 6 feet tall with an athletic build, Daniel carried himself with quiet confidence. His presence was strong, but never overbearing. He didn't need to boast about his success or his values. His actions spoke for themselves. He was known for always putting others before himself, particularly when it came to his wife, Camille. Camille Brooks, at 28 years old, was the perfect complement to Daniel. She was vibrant and full of life, with a smile that lit up every room she entered. Camille was tall, with glowing caramel skin, curly hair, and captivating eyes that seemed to hold stories she had never shared. She had built a successful career as a hairstylist in Atlanta's beauty scene, quickly gaining a reputation for her skill and charm. Her clients adored her, not just for the way she made them look, but for the way she made them feel. Camille had a magnetic personality, the kind of woman who could make anyone feel special. When Daniel and Camille first met at a local community fundraiser, it was as if the universe had aligned just for them. Daniel, usually reserved, was instantly drawn to Camille's warmth and charisma. Camille, on the other hand, found Daniel's quiet strength and traditional values deeply attractive. It wasn't long before they were spending every spare moment together, and their relationship quickly grew from casual dates to something much more serious. Their love story moved fast, too fast, some might say. Within months, Daniel was bringing Camille to family gatherings, introducing her as the woman he wanted to spend the rest of his life with. Camille fit seamlessly into Daniel's world, winning over his family with her grace and charm. His mother adored her, and his siblings welcomed her into the family with open arms. To everyone around them, Daniel had found the perfect partner, someone who matched his loyalty, his faith, and his love for family. It wasn't long before Daniel proposed. Camille said yes without hesitation, and within a year, they were married. Their wedding was held in a grand church in the heart of Atlanta, a lavish ceremony with over 200 guests. Camille was radiant in her white gown, and Daniel felt like the luckiest man in the world as he watched her walk down the aisle. To anyone watching, it seemed like the beginning of a beautiful and lasting love story. But even on that seemingly perfect day, subtle signs of unease began to show. Camille, always the life of the party, seemed distant at times. Daniel noticed her gaze linger off in the distance during their reception, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Her hands trembled slightly when they exchanged vows, something Daniel chalked up to wedding day nerves. It was easy to dismiss these moments as minor. After all, weddings can be overwhelming, right? The couple's honeymoon was a dream come true. Daniel spared no expense, whisking Camille away to the Bahamas for 2 weeks of pure romance. The beaches were pristine, the sunsets breathtaking, but Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Camille would occasionally withdraw, her usual brightness dimmed by moments of deep thought or sadness. When Daniel asked her what was wrong, Camille would brush it off with a smile, saying it was just homesickness or stress. "Don't worry about me, baby," she'd say, her arms wrapping around him, her smile hiding whatever was weighing her down. But Daniel could feel the distance between them growing, even in those early days. When they returned home to their cozy new house in the suburbs of Atlanta, life seemed to fall into place for the newlyweds. They settled into a comfortable routine, Daniel working long hours at the construction site, while Camille grew her beauty business. On weekends, they spent time fixing up their home and enjoying their quiet neighborhood. To the outside world, they were the picture of happiness. But beneath the surface, Daniel began to notice small, troubling changes in Camille's behavior. She became more secretive, often locking her phone when Daniel was around, or disappearing for long stretches of time without explanation. She started working late at the salon, claiming that her growing client base required more of her time. But when Daniel surprised her one night by stopping by the salon, it was closed, and Camille was nowhere to be found. It wasn't the first time, either. The excuses began piling up, dinners with friends Daniel had never heard of, meetings that ran late into the night. Camille's phone calls became hushed, taken in whispered tones behind closed doors. The once carefree connection they had shared was slipping away, and Daniel could feel the emotional distance growing between them. Intimacy became rare, and when they were together, Camille seemed disconnected, almost as if she was keeping something from him. Daniel didn't want to believe that there was something wrong. He loved Camille deeply, and the thought of her hiding anything from him felt like a betrayal too painful to confront. He convinced himself that it was just the pressures of married life getting to them, that they would get through it like any other couple. But the nagging feeling that something was being kept from him grew stronger with each passing day. One night, while Camille was out with friends, Daniel's suspicions led him to do something he had never thought he would. He went through her things. It was a violation of trust, and he knew it, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Desperation drove him to search through her drawers, looking for any clue that might explain her recent behavior. That's when he found the small hidden box at the back of the closet, tucked beneath piles of old clothes. Inside, Daniel discovered documents that would forever change his life. Among them was a birth certificate with a name he had never seen before, Elijah Brooks. Confused, Daniel kept searching, and what he found next made his heart race with shock. Medical records, spanning years, detailed Camille's transition from male to female. For Daniel, time seemed to stop. The woman he had fallen in love with, the woman he had married and vowed to spend the rest of his life with, had been hiding this from him. Camille had been born male, and she had never told him. The revelation wasn't just a secret, it was a complete upheaval of everything Daniel believed their relationship had been built on. His mind raced, overwhelmed with anger, confusion, and betrayal. How could she have hidden something so fundamental from him? When Camille came home that evening, she was greeted by the sight of Daniel sitting on their bed, the documents spread out in front of him. The moment Camille's eyes landed on the papers, her face went pale. She stood frozen in the doorway, her breath catching in her throat. "You lied to me," Daniel's voice was low, trembling with a mixture of rage and disbelief. He held up the papers, his hand shaking. "Who are you? No, what are you?" Camille's heart sank. She had always feared this moment, the day when her past would catch up to her. She had wanted to tell Daniel, but she never found the right moment, and as their relationship grew, so did her fear of losing him. "Daniel, please, I was going to tell you. I swear I was. I just didn't know how. I love you. This doesn't change who I am." But Daniel couldn't hear her. His mind was reeling, consumed by betrayal and anger. "Doesn't change who you are. You tricked me into marrying you. Do you even understand what you've done?" His voice grew louder, more frantic, as his emotions spiraled out of control. Camille stepped forward, her eyes filled with tears, but Daniel stepped back. "I didn't tell you because I didn't want to lose you, Daniel. You mean everything to me. I thought if you knew, you wouldn't love me anymore." "You thought right!" Daniel spat, his voice dripping with venom. His rage was building, blinding him to everything except the overwhelming sense of betrayal. Without thinking, Daniel stormed out of the bedroom and into the garage. His eyes landed on a hammer, and in his blind fury, he grabbed it. What happened next was nothing short of a nightmare. Daniel returned to the house, his mind consumed by the storm of emotions he couldn't control. In a fit of uncontrollable rage, he attacked Camille with the hammer, striking her repeatedly. Her screams filled the air, but Daniel couldn't stop. Every swing of the hammer seemed to fuel his anger, and by the time he stopped, Camille lay lifeless on the floor. The brutality of the crime didn't end there. In a state of madness, Daniel dragged Camille's body into the bathroom and began to mutilate her, disfiguring her beyond recognition. By the time the police arrived, the scene they encountered was nothing short of horrifying. Blood splattered the walls, and Daniel sat on the floor, covered in Camille's blood, staring blankly at the destruction he had caused. In a daze, Daniel dialed 911. His voice was hollow and emotionless as he confessed, I killed her." When the news of Camille's murder broke, it sent shockwaves through their Atlanta community. The details of her death, combined with the revelation of her secret, sparked a nationwide debate. Some painted Daniel as a man who had been betrayed and driven to madness. Others condemned him as a monster who had committed an unspeakable act of violence. As Daniel's trial began, his defense team argued that he had been emotionally shattered by the shock of discovering Camille's past. They claimed that the betrayal had pushed him to a breaking point. The prosecution, however, presented Daniel as a cold-blooded murderer, fueled by hatred and rage. In the end, the jury found Daniel guilty of first-degree murder, and he was sentenced to life in prison. As he was led out of the courtroom, his face remained expressionless, a man whose life had been shattered by secrets and whose future was now defined by his unforgivable crime. Camille's death serves as a chilling reminder of the dangers of hidden truths and the devastating consequences of unresolved fear and anger. In the end, a secret that had been kept out of fear led to a tragedy that no one could have foreseen. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Be sure to check out our other videos for more captivating stories. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one.